All right, welcome back in, everyone. You are at the GovAI Coalition's Use Cases Committee. We have this session typically the first Tuesday of the month. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. For those of you who've been here before, you know the drill. Go ahead and pop in and introduce yourself in the chat function so that others can know where you are beckoning from. We have a fun little session here for you today. So, in the last session, Melanie had actually introduced some of the automations that she had done around MCP, OpenAI, and some zoning. And that spurred a lot of questions about what is vibe coding? What are the things that you can do with it? And I'll have Melanie introduce herself here in just a bit. And what that did is it got us thinking. We're like, okay, what are some of those local government vibe coded experiments that folks are doing? Can we present this to the GovAI Coalition? And more importantly, could we show this live? We are going to attempt that today. After Melanie and I give you a few examples, I've got a personal example and then I've got two sort of local government examples. She has another local government examples. After we give you those demos, we are going to attempt a live vibe coding scenario, and we're gonna ask for some examples or some ideas from you all as a group, and I will show you how I engage in vibe coding and show you potentially what's possible. I'll be using Claude Code today as the demo for the demonstration. So before we get started, I'm going to pop it over to Melanie, have her introduce ourselves or herself, and then we'll get started, and I'll tell you how the flow is going to happen. So Melanie, who
All
are
right.
you?
So I would like to be ourselves because then I would have more than one person to actually get some of this stuff done,
Agreed.
maybe in the future state. So I'm Melanie McDonough. I'm the Chief Innovation and AI Officer for the City of Lebanon, New Hampshire. We're about 15,000 population. We're a micropolis though, so we go up to about 35,000 during the day, which is probably small for some of you. So we have a lot of big problems to solve with not very many staff. So that's where vibe coding came in for us. I don't know how far you want me to, do you want me to show my example or wait?
Not quite yet, because I'm gonna,
Okay.
yeah. So how we'll do it is, but I'm Nicole Sterling. I'm your use cases co-chair member. I also represent the town of Nederland. I am their mayor pro tem. I am also an AI vendor. So part of my lens, as I'm going to show you through vibe coding, is from both a local government and even a vendor perspective, and how that interaction between us and vendors could potentially evolve and how it might go. So how we're going to do it is, so Melanie, I'm going to run through a couple of my examples. I'm going to pop it over to you so that you can run through your example while I set up the terminal on my side to get the vibe coding piece going. Sound
All
good?
right. That sounds perfect.
All right, fabulous. Hopefully the sharing is available. I do believe so. So let me just make sure. Okay. Can you all see my screen?
Yep,
This is Nicole for Nederland. Are we in the right spot?
we are.
Okay, fabulous. All right, so the first example that I want to show you of a purely vibe coded project is probably more of a personal example for many of us in local government. We probably aren't going out there to vibe code our own websites. Maybe one day, I'll leave it open. But this was a personal example. So I am running for mayor in Little Old Nederland, Colorado. And so I built this completely with vibe coding in with Claude Code. And you can see that I've got kind of the Meet Nicole, these little fun little tiles that spin around when I want folks to read it. I go through some of my priorities, some campaign events, and our frequently asked questions. So I actually had set up an example or like a contact us form so that folks could submit their own questions. And then I could answer them and pop them back into the website. This whole thing probably took me about, like, if I were working on it full time, probably about 3 days to complete from beginning to end. Every time I had a new update, I would come into Claude Code and ask it to make the update. And I'll kind of show you what that is during our live demonstration. But again, for some of us who may be wanting to spin up those websites or whatnot, vibe coding can be a very effective and quick tool to make that happen. And all I have to do is sort of set the tone, how I want it to look and feel, and away we go. So I just changed screens. So you guys see the screen change to City Budget Builder? Someone let me know. Yeah, okay, fabulous. So I don't know, David, I don't know if you're on, but this came from David over in Oak Harbor. And he said, "Hey, I vibe coded this example where I built a city budget." He heads up finance over in Oak Harbor. And he said, what I really wanted to do was kind of set up this like almost a little bit of a gamified example for our residents so that they could come in and they could kind of play with the budget and see like what the consequences of changing the budget has. And so, for instance, we've got, the fiscal year, the 2026 budget. These are kind of fake numbers. However, what it allowed him to do was just a prototype. What would this look like? Okay, so if we were to allocate 15 million for a police department, how does that impact safety, satisfaction, and economy, right? And what he really wanted to do is just give residents this ability to toggle and play with and go through the thinking process that staff oftentimes have to go through as they're building the budget. And so, this one was again taking this idea that was in his head and being able to quickly prototype it into something that was functional and that could be played with. He says that it still requires a little bit more of like tweaking, right? Getting the budget right, maybe putting in a couple of impact scenarios, but it at least got him something that he could show folks. And he does have a button down here to submit the budget for review, because in his mind he was thinking, oh, could this be another participatory way that residents can interact with their budget and have the ability to ask questions? So again, not completely finished, but we're just running through a few demos on what different jurisdictions and folks are doing. Now, my last example here is actually from a vendor side. So for those of you who know my company, MyTown AI, basically, and this is something too that Melanie and I were talk about, is like there's this ability to have quick prototyping so that if you're maybe on the vendor side, you can go to your local jurisdiction and say, here, is this what you meant? And we're also hearing examples of local governments saying, hey, consultant or vendor, this is what I mean. And so this was a scenario where we are helping this local jurisdiction identify accessory dwelling units. As everyone knows, land use code is different everywhere you go. What you have is your affordable housing incentives, or where a detached ADU can go is going to be different from every other jurisdiction across the United States. So how do you start to build something very specific to towns using and pulling in these examples? And so we built this and said, hey, moderately feasible is where there is a potential for a detached ADU. And what this planner needed was a quick way to identify like what is potentially feasible so that they can go and incentivize the homeowners and drive affordable housing from a detached ADU perspective. And so basically what we did is we ran the policy, or excuse me, the land use code, and identified for them like where does it meet the requirements. Number one, does the zoning allow the ADU? Nice, good first step to check out, right? Does it meet the minimum lot size? Because there are minimum lot sizes for this particular jurisdiction. Is it within the lot coverage? All these checks. And when it was someone, maybe one that was moderately feasible, it would give an example or it would give a reason why, such as ADU placement is constrained by existing structures. It may require some custom design. So it's not that it's a no, it's just, hey, little thing to look out for. One of the examples I show right here, which I thought was so cool, that it picked up on is that, hey, this is moderately feasible for a detached ADU because it doesn't have an existing principal dwelling unit. This was something very specific to Idaho Springs in that they required an existing principal dwelling unit in order to put an ADU on it. Nederland code is differently. We allow an ADU before the principal dwelling unit is built. So, but what it was also pretty cool was adding in the simulator where you could then toggle different policy and see what the outputs are. So, for instance, if I wanted to reduce the minimum lot size requirement and put it down to 5,000 square feet for residential zones, like what would that actually do to potential where you could place an ADU, detached ADUs. And so blue is now newly feasible, right? It tells me that blue is what opened up because of this policy change versus if you just kept it where your existing code says. So I show this because me being a worker in local government, me having the use case, I'm the first prototyper for my company. I'm the one who sets and establishes these new use cases because I have the knowledge. And then what I do is I hand off to my engineering team to actually put into production. Because something like this requires a little bit more complicated back end, but it's something I can hand off to my team. It's something I can hand off to the customer to say, is this getting at what you need? So I'll stop right there and allow Melanie to pop in here and tell and give her example.
Great. Let me just share my screen. And boy, you hook that up with the what would be the effect of that policy on other services in the city, and that can get kind of interesting, huh?
Yeah.
All right. So my example, and is my screen showing?
Yes, it is.
The Zoom person. Okay, great. Our example is that we had a strategic plan initiative where it was kind of growing out of control. If you were here last time, you kind of heard a little bit about that. And it was in a whiteboard, and we need to get all the data out and put it into a place where everyone could interact with our strategic plan. And we had priced out some solutions. We weren't going to be able to do that. We had very messy, unstructured data that we needed to work with. And so I ended up trying vibe coding at the time that it was coming out and chose Replit as mine. So use Claude Code. I use Replit. There's lots of opportunities in different spaces. This is just where I got started, but it was essentially building a portal to house all of the strategic plan themes, the action items, the objectives that were actually in play in a way that the public could interact with them. So we have 10 strategic themes that developed through the course of our coming up with our strategic plan. Under each one of those, we have objectives. So you can see there's 7 objectives here, but they wanted a vision statement. They wanted to be able to track which departments were involved in in each action item, which boards and committees, and even outside partners. So the ability to tag, and then the ability to have, if they had a really long vision statement, have that in there. And just listing all these things out so that you could look at each item and see what it was and keep performance indicators and so forth. So this, was something where I was just taking information that had gotten packed into a strategic plan and coming over to something like this, where it's basically a chat bot, and that's a scary screen, but this is a less scary screen. And really just started to enter in, we need a portal and we need to be able to house all this different type of data. And I actually started with, ChatGPT, more of a conversational thing, kind of getting ideas and structuring my ideas around, well, what do we actually need? we had looked at some software and kind of had ideas about what good would look like for us. So I kind of brought that back and said, okay, we just need a portal where people can search and users can log in on the backside and enter their data, and the public can search it and on there. And I would just enter that information just in plain text and start building this thing. And it was just building it as I described it. And then it would show me an example here in the screen. And then I would say, well, not quite. And can you make it like this? And then I would, test each item. And so each time that we went through, I'd say, oh, well, we need to have the ability for these to link into the next thing, and then to be tracked across a bigger metric dashboard. And so each time that we had ideas or things that needed to be built out, I would essentially just use plain language and ask for it to build that. And so once I got to a point where I really felt like this was viable and stuff, went to our city manager. And so we did bring it over. And so I was able to kind of get permission to use this inside our city. And we actually lifted this. And so that is on our, city side, whoops, over here, when you come in, this is actually live and active and where we're working. From there, I was able to kind of even experiment further. Can I attach an MCP and create an API inside there so that I could actually build a chatbot where I can ask it questions, are there any items or initiatives that deal with homelessness, let's say, and then it searches inside the strategic plan. So now that we have a nice structured database and now that we have those features, I can actually keep building off of this where it can reference exactly where in the plan that actually shows up. And so those were, that was a very low cost way for us to solve a problem that we had in the moment. We basically have spent about $200 setting this up, other than my staff time. And some of the features that I do like just while I'm here is the ability to sync up to GitHub. So you can save all your code, you own it. It's not stuck inside this service. So if I sync it up to GitHub and I decide that we're going to do something else in a different place, I can actually bring that in and then we can set up what kind of publishing that we want. It is you get credits, and it's just like running something on AWS where it's charging based on how much traffic that you're getting, and you can choose what your setup is. And then the feature that I really like inside here is the ability to do security scanning on the code. So I am not a programmer and I don't know all the things to watch out for the way, vendors would probably put, strong emphasis on. And because we have to put it through our technology review committee and pass, certain screening, this has been really helpful. And the nice part about it is that it keeps running all the time and reporting back if there are any, dependencies that might be weak that need to be updated in there. And when it reports an issue, it actually says, would you like me to fix that for you? And so it can kind of go in and make the fix for you on there. And then the other part is that you can have, your databases on the backside and can export that data, and it's all structured, which is not the way that we started. So that's a pretty comprehensive way of looking at it, but it's doable. And it just took a little bit of experimenting. I really didn't know how it was going to turn out in the beginning, but I just took a problem that we had. And the other part is just that we did use public data. So nothing in here is sensitive or concerning in terms of the sensitivity of the data. There's still sensitivity around, we don't want someone to hack into it and destroy it or do something that would be reputationally damaging. But the data itself is not sensitive. So I will stop there.
Well, and Melanie, before you get off, because I think a lot of folks, as they start to get into vibe coding, they can see like your previous screen over there in Replit, and they can be like, "Oh my gosh, databases? What are you talking about? Why?
Yeah.
why would you show me this? This is already, increasing my anxiety tenfold. But can
Mhm.
you walk through, because we saw this progression happen a lot in Women Defining AI, that the nonprofit that I founded, of like, if you didn't know something or like how it was supposed to do, what did you do? Like, can you
Yeah.
just talk us through
I,
that
I
that
sound like I know what I'm talking about now. And I kind of do, like, through the process. That's how we learn, right? We learn by doing, or I do anyways. Many of us do. And so when I started, I had no idea. I was literally just came to Replit and started saying, I have this. And then it would say, oh, it would make the best suggestions for you. And it would prompt you, like, do you want to build a database? And I'd be like, I don't know, do I need one? What is that? And so then it would say, oh, it would kind of give me the answer. And I did have ChatGPT open on the side too. So I had like two things going at it, and I'd be like, explain this to me. And so then I would let it explain it to me until I understood, like, oh, okay, that's what that is. And I get it now. And so then I would see how it kind of came together. And then once I saw it, it was like, oh, it's really interesting. It breaks all these little pieces down into there. And now, because it's all broken down in each one of these little areas, I can actually do other things with it. And so it started to make sense. All the things in there, even as simple as, oh, well, you're going to need an API, or you're going to need secrets. That's the other thing. Like, you have all these things that it starts to create. And every time I did not know, well, I have no idea. Like, oh, I need to set up a database and it needs a secret. It would just walk me through. It would just say, okay, this is your next step. And at the same time, there's also a lot of really good videos out there. There's other resources, and I was kind of just tapping through, and it's been hard for me to backtrack and say, well, where did I start? But I guarantee you that when I started this, I'd never built an app before. That's not in my wheelhouse. I didn't. I kind of knew a little bit, like many people, just kind of tinkered with some programming, but never built anything. I could try to understand it just enough to understand what it was. But it really can be that experience where you just start and then you ask questions and then you keep going and you learn. And I think
Yeah.
I probably scrapped the first one. And
Yep.
once I kind of got that, like, oh, okay, I scrapped it. And I'm like, I just need to start over now. I know so many other things, and I'm just going to start this over again with all the knowledge that I have now. And I can't remember if I scrapped it more than once, but I definitely scrapped it at least once. Yeah.
It definitely, I scrapped a few
Yeah,
for my process.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think that's too also, and because you and I have talked about this, going through the process of building your app, because we have all these ideas of like what it could or couldn't do. And then you come to, like, I came to a point in building out the ADU analyzer where I thought that I was going to have to pull in this one piece of data source, right? An open source data set. Now I can't remember what it was. And then once I did it and I realized, oh, this is actually a lot harder. There's not like a smooth way of doing it. I was like, okay, you know what? Nix that. We're not even gonna deal with that. I'm not even gonna have my engineering team deal with that. And so by going through that process, I think it makes you better at
Mhm.
understanding what it's going to take so that you can then do the handoff or whatnot. Did you also experience this?
I definitely did. And I definitely feel that even when I go to talk about, even, oh, are we going to keep this? Are we going to purchase something? Are we going to move into a different space? That even my language around, um, you know, how I view this information and how I can talk to people about it has really grown, and just being able to explain, okay, but this is what we want or what we need. It's really grown my understanding, and it carries over. Maybe this strategic plan right now is we have a new city manager. It's on pause, and we don't know where it's going to go, but we have now data, and so it's like, oh, how do you get your data out of there? I just ask, like, how do I do this? How do I get this moved over? I want to do this thing. Um, and I would say that, with each step that you take, then you have ideas, you look at other problems differently inside your space. You realize, like, you have new tools, you have a new skill set, and you have the ability to imagine a new path forward, or a solution for a problem that you're facing, because you have a new ability to at least explore the
Yeah.
possibility.
100%. So we have a question from Ezra. He's wondering how many hours did it take you to actually build out the strategic plan metrics?
Yeah, that one was a little bit hard because it was so new at the time that, and
Mhm.
I'd never seen it. So I think I started somewhere around like a holiday. It was coming into like Thanksgiving and Christmas, and so I had extra time with holiday time to sit down, and my husband is very patient, and so I had time, and it did take me some solid like weekends to really start to feel like I could do what I needed to do. But now I can do that much faster.
Yeah.
So I would say the initial time of learning, I would give yourself some solid weekends or weekdays or something like really block it out. And I think that the trick is uninterrupted time to really not feel rushed. It's not something I feel like I could feel rushed with when I was first starting, but now I can just hop in there because I have experience and I know, okay, I can hop in here and start it and I can come back.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. And we have another question. Is this app hosted in a cloud provider or is it running locally?
it is in the cloud. So it's Replit actually is hosting this. So they have their own hosting services inside the platform. I'm trying to see where I went here. And so you can actually set it all up and host it within this space. If I wanted to bring it in and run it some other way, I would just bring down my code and my database and figure out where we wanted to host that. So I know some places actually use this kind of experience in Replit to really prototype ideas that they can bring back to their more technical teams and say, this is what we want to host internally. And then they just bring all the code down and stuff and do that. But
All right. Fabulous. So, what we want to do now, and I am going to take back sharing capabilities here. We are going to do a live vibe coding session. My hope is that y'all can start popping some ideas or come off mute. That's also okay. Uh, a couple of things to just note is one, we recognize that many of you are not set up from a local agency standpoint to start using vibe coding. So Melanie and I recommend that if you are interested in this, that you start with on your own personal machine. Get Claude Code is I think maybe $35 a month just to get you started. OpenAI is similar pricing. But we do recommend that if you don't have this obviously built out behind your firewall from a local government standpoint, that you start from a personal standpoint. The second thing that we'll say is that you don't have to feel technical or be technical in order to supply an idea. Both Melanie and I would categorize ourselves as non-technical, but we are subject matter experts in the thing that we do. And that is what AI is really unlocking is that if you sit in the flow of work, some of these AI tools are unlocking your ability to build quicker, prototype faster, hand off sooner. So, just a little
And and
practice.
I'll and I'll say like when I did actually start doing this, I started with a personal project, which was just to try and um, I have a lot of books in my house on lots of bookshelves, and I just was like, can I just take a picture of this and have it index and make a really nice library, and then I can check books out to my friends and actually know where they are. And so I started with something really simple like that, that was just fun, non-stressful, and I do recommend starting with something that's a little less low stakes.
Yes, low stakes. So does anybody have an idea that they want to float out there? It could be, scope it down. We've only got 29 minutes. So building a real platform or a hugely complicated app might not fit the bill. If not, we have a couple of backups that we can activate, but curious what folks' ideas are.
Ooh, that's a good one. Soccer field reservation system. Select the day, select the hour between noon and 8 p.m. Needs to connect with a payment system and then update the database where the field availability is kept.
Okay. Anybody else want to throw in another idea? Oh, this is David Goldman. Guys, this is David Goldman. He was the one that had the city budget finance person. Hi, David. Good to see you.
I can
Yeah,
say
how's it
that
going?
that
Yeah,
that
I've been playing around with a lot of AI stuff, and I made a bunch of things with Claude, and I'm at the point where it's like, okay, I have a prototype set up, but how do I connect it to a database where it keeps, the field availability? Like if somebody booked a field, I want it like you're buying a seat on an airplane. I want it to show up as taken. And also, obviously, we need them to pay, pay for the product. And then once that happens, it communicates back and reserves the field or.
Yeah.
I would recommend, like, I'm not trying to recommend a vendor particularly, but I will say, like, within Replit, they have one of the things that they have done is tried to make all those connections really easy for you. So it will be very easy to set up a database in there that you can run. And also they already have like little connectors so you can set up payment and processors to like Stripe and stuff like that. So
Okay.
And another potential strategy, because this is what my team set up for me. So if in your local jurisdiction, your IT team has, and I don't know that they would, but if they have their own GitHub repository with the website built into it, and it's got all of the styling identified, it already has the payment processor potentially. So what my team does is they say, okay, here's our production system. Nicole gets to create a clone of our repository, and that's where she gets to prototype. And so if this is a scenario that is available to you, creating those clones of your GitHub and then being able to prototype gives you all the styling. It gives you everything that's already a part of your general IT systems and networking, and it's a great way to get started. So. Okay, I'm going to come back, Ken. I'm going to come back to your question here in just a little bit. So David, did you actually start to prototype out the soccer field reservation system? Oh, you're on mute.
Switch a window. Yeah, I'm back. I'd switch a window. Yeah, it's pretty much done. I
Oh,
mean, it's not
okay.
done, but it's like it was. I didn't do the whole year. I just said for the month of June. So it has a drop down that's picks a day, and then there's four fields. I told it four fields as a test. So four fields pop up, and you see every hour like 12 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, and it has these green boxes, and you could just select a few boxes for the times you need those fields, and then you put it in. The next page is a shopping cart. Are you sure about this? You want to go back or whatever? And then the next, if you're sure, you hit this thing and it's supposed to go to like a payment platform, which I don't have yet. But it took,
Okay.
yeah, the prompt the prompt I put into Claude took longer than it took Claude to make it.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, so we're going to hold on to that idea. I want to go to Vasuda. Vasuda, can you come off of mute real quick?
Yes, hi.
Hi, Vasuda. What agency are you with?
I'm with Town and Normal in Illinois.
Okay, fabulous. So this particular use case, has that come up for you recently?
All the time. Again, I'm with the Innovation and Technology Department, and we have a legal team of two members, and we would love to make sure that all our contracts are going through our legal team, but typically my technology contract review takes about 3 to 4 months. And it's usually what I've observed is it's usually the same set of issues that they always bring up. So
Mhm.
I almost want to create like a legal assistant
Yeah.
that takes into account issues like whether it's FOIA language, data confidentiality, data ownership, just the typical things that they go through on every review to see if we can create an assistant that frankly not only just helps me, it also helps my legal team because I am the biggest pain in the neck, bringing all sorts of SaaS contracts to them for review.
Okay, let's use this one. I feel like that we can kind of get it going pretty quickly. And Vasuda, you're going to be our subject matter expert to help craft this. Does that sound okay?
I will try my best.
Yeah, that's all we can do. All right, so everyone, you can see my screen here, and you can see what we call the terminal, correct? That's just a little black box. Yep. Okay. So I say very deliberately, this is a little black box because oftentimes AI vibe coding can feel like a little black box. Like, how do I just understand what the heck is going on? And so we're going to show you exactly how that goes. So this is my terminal. So I'm actually operating locally on my computer. And I'm basically saying, I'm pulling up Claude. Hey, Claude Code, I need your help here. And it prompts me and it says, hey, here's a quick safety check. Is this a project you created or one that you trust? Is it like your own code? And yes, we're going to kind of create our own thing here. So I'm going to prompt it by saying, I need to create a legal assistant to review technology contracts. I am a local government. And so, Vasudha, what are some other things that you wanted to take into consideration? Give me just two things of how you would direct it that you really want it to keep in consideration right now.
Yep. So local government, we are in Illinois, so we need to follow Illinois legislation. We are typically they like to ask for all litigations to be heard in McLean County, Illinois. The second aspect that typically comes up a lot for us is ensuring data ownership. Confidentiality, making sure that people understand we are an entity subject to FOIA laws.
Okay. Real quick, did I spell McLean correct?
McLean, L-E-A. Hold on. I'll send
L-E,
yeah, in chat. It is my chat.
McLean like that?
Correct, yes.
Okay. And then I'm just going to say be sensitive to FOIA. And what was the other thing that you had said?
Data ownership and confidentiality.
And then I'm just going to give it a little bit more of a direction here. Please produce on okay, and the reason why I do that is because I oftentimes pull in a lot of my company's GitHub repositories and whatnot. So I'm just giving it a little bit extra direction of like, hey, I'm just going to produce this locally. And so what you're going to start to see it do is create like what Melanie was going through in Replit is that it's going to start kind of creating the back end, or if you will, of what's needed. So it's thinking through, am I going to need potentially some sort of database, or am I going to need some of these other components? And it says, hey, what local large language model setup do you prefer for running the AI component? This keeps all the contract data on your machine. If I had to select one, I don't really know. So let me go ahead and skip the interview here and plan immediately. Also, just because I'm trying to get us going here. Whoops. Hello, 6.
And I've often said, I'm not sure, please pick the best practice for this case use.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And let's see. So right there, it says that I can chat about this, although it's not wanting me to. Oh, I see what the thing is here. Okay, so what interface would you prefer for the application? These are different things that you could ask. We could also, again, kind of ask to chat about it. For some reason, it is not wanting me to go through that. Real quick, Vasudha, is it mostly PDFs and documents, DocX that you deal with?
Yep,
Okay.
pretty PDFs and documents.
All right, and it's just asking me where should I create this project in my local machine. We'll go through that. We'll go ahead and submit those answers. And again, like Melanie said, this is for the sake of time that we're kind of going through that, but you can stop and pause and say, well, can you explain what the trade-offs are? Or can you explain, maybe for my use case, what would be the best option?
And
and like,
sometimes I have two like AI
right.
going. So I'm here, I'm in my other chat, and I'm like, hey, my developer just asked this question, and what should I say? And then it's like, oh, this is your choices, and then I kind of come back and make a choice based on that.
Exactly. And what's interesting is we are seeing more folks go through and have two different AIs going. This idea that you can, and so real quick, what it's asking me to do is, hey, do you want to make this directory for the McLean contract reviewer? Yes, I want to go ahead and make that directory. Basically saying it's like a folder, right? Do you want to create this folder of where your project is going to live on your local machine? Yep, I'm going through that process. And now what it's doing is it's actually pulling, this is kind of what David was saying, is like it often takes longer to do the prompt than for Claude to go and do the thing. It's pulling the different tools that we're going to need to build this out. And as it's pulling it together, it's writing the code in the background for this particular application. So but yeah, but going back to the two screen thing is like oftentimes we see folks like wanting to bounce off or generate and brainstorm an idea, bounce it off the next LLM and kind of go back and forth. I've done that a few times as well. So here it is, and you can see right here, look at this. It's identifying and picking up FOIA. So it's going to make sure that it wraps that into the overall application as it's building it out. So you can start to see it go through and it's processing, some of these constraints that we've given it. Before we get too much farther, and it'll pop up here an example of what this is going to look like here in just a bit. Any other questions out there? Because I do not see the chat box. So Melanie and I'll need to.
Yep, I don't see any questions other than one that was asked before we started. Oh wait, here's one that just someone just was saying that they just started using Gemini Gems, which is also that's kind of interesting. Look, it's similar but different, I think, if I remember Gemini Gems a little bit. It's more like custom GPTs, I think.
Got it. Does that sound right? Whoever wrote that in?
Yeah, does that.
Yeah, sorry, it was me again. Yeah, it's more visual. It's kind of like you could actually see almost like a flow, and you can build it based on almost like a flow chart. It's kind of cool.
Yep.
Anyway.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, Cloud Artifacts is like that as well. I believe Replit is like that as well.
Yep. And then someone's mentioning Google Anti-Gravity if you're in the Google environment, and that is very good. That also is another platform. There's many platforms that you can, so whatever ecosystem you're in, you can kind of find an equivalent and get started with something similar to this.
Okay, and so then I'm giving it the direction to go ahead and provide the URL so that it will give us a visual. And like David and like Melanie are talking about, some of these other tools you give the prompt and it'll kind of be creating it side by side. So you can see it. Claude Code operating out of the terminal usually will give you kind of like a local URL then that you can go and see and click through and that kind of thing. So just different interface. And again, like I said, I use this mostly for work. So that's how we did it. So,
yeah.
And you can see now that it's implementing the Streamlit app to have that up and going. It's going through, it looks like a McLean County Contract Review Assistant setup. So it's doing the whole kit and caboodle for you. Vasudha. So now it says that, so I have it set up to where it prompts me for each one of these decision points that it has to do. As you can see, one of the options was, either we can talk about it or, yeah, don't ask me again for this in the future. I typically like to make sure that I'm seeing what the decision points, and again, like Melanie said, if you don't know what it means, copy and paste it, put it in some other AI tool to have an understanding of what it's doing. So, all right. And here in a bit, we should have a little bit of a visual.
I like how it says it's sauteing.
Yes, it likes to.
Is that what it says? My screen's little, but it says sauteing.
Yes, it actually says that. It goes back and forth between various verbs. So like it's sauteing right now, it'll be flambéing here in a little bit, or whatever the verb is that it's feeling like at the moment.
I do think that with a lot of these vibe coding tools too, they're very fun. I don't know, like they seem to bake in some really fun stuff, and it feels very enjoyable. And I've found that even though I'm sort of doing work on my personal time, it feels a little bit like play, and is kind of brings a little joy into the space.
Yeah, 100%. All right. So now what it's saying here is, okay, all imports pass. The project is fully implemented at McLean Contract. That's my directory, right? So now it says, hey, to run it, you're going to need to change the directory so you become a little bit more fluent in what these code things are. And so, let's say, oh my gosh, I don't know what they're doing. Typically, I would say ask Claude, hey, how do I actually do this? But I also happen to know that I need to open up another terminal real quick and paste in here. So, uh, and now it's going to say, hey, welcome to Streamlit. If you'd like to receive helpful onboarding emails, no, that's okay. So let's see. Uh,
You can leave it blank if you want.
yeah. Whoops, come back. Come back, friend. Here we go. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is pull over my screen. So let me bring this. And this is what it has created as a first go in. So it looks like, hey, this is the McLean County Technology Contract Review Assistant. It's a local AI-powered review of technology contracts for Illinois legal compliance, FOIA, data ownership, and security. All processing stays local. Can you upload a technology contract PDF or doc? I do not have one. But this is where you could start to experiment and say, okay, well, here's potentially you can even have AI fabricate one. Like if you wanted to work
Maybe
with,
I can pull something off of our website real quick. I might drop it in the chat here. Give me just a second.
oh, okay. She's like, no, we're gonna test
Yeah,
this out.
we're getting this done.
We're doing it live.
Yeah, just remember nothing sensitive right now, or we'll have to run the whole
Yeah.
confidentiality thing.
I 100%. I am going off of our website to see what was submitted to council.
All right.
But so basically, it's giving me the option to go ahead and upload. So it goes straight to opening up my local machine so that I can do that. So if we get one of those examples, let me pull this over real quick and find my regular screen so that I can get the thing if we.
And while you're doing that, some things to just kind of keep in the back of your mind as you progress through this and you start getting really excited, because you will. If you start to do this, you will get very excited and you will see many things that you can build. Just, remember, to stay mindful of security and not putting things into, that you don't want exposed out there. And one of the things is, with what kind of data that you're using, but also what data you might actually take in and hold, because then you're responsible for it. So if you're going to have people logging in and keeping passwords and putting data into you kind of become the owner of that data. And that's really important to remember that that's secure, and just be thinking about that. And you can ask AI lots of questions about that, but just kind of keep a mind on it.
Yeah, 100%. So, Verhuda, did you find something?
I am getting closer.
Okay. We should have thought about that at the beginning. It's like, hey, can you have a contract ready to go? We got so excited by the actual building of it that we didn't even think about it. But yeah.
Yeah. And I can also say, like, different vibe coding platforms. So like with your Cloud Code, that has to be installed on your computer, right?
So I operated out of the terminal, and so it does run locally in my terminal. But like Claude Artifacts, which I've used for different prototyping and
Yep.
just being able to see as I go,
Mhm.
is just equally as effective. And you can do that in the web browser,
And that's in the cloud.
and that's in
So
the cloud.
yeah.
Yep.
So if you're trying to, sometimes you can get permission. So that's how I was able to kind of, so if you get something and you're really excited about it, now the next hurdle is going to be, how do I get our teams to accept this thing internally inside the city? And some of that process is just really having something that doesn't scare them too much. So it's nice to start somewhere a little bit in the cloud where they can look at it because they're going to be less afraid to give you permission, in my experience, than something that's just going to be running across the network. Um,
Yes, start simple and like public data, all the low risk throttles that you
yeah,
can pull on so that it just makes the IT team you know
yep,
less less fearful.
yep.
So
Try to set them up for yes.
yes, 100%.
Yeah.
So low risk as much as possible.
Nicole, I just have to trust that our assistant is going to do a good job because I have
Okay.
a contract right now.
Because you can't find one?
I can't find a publicly posted contract right now.
Got
Okay.
it. Okay. Let me see
What does it do
if
if you just put any document in it?
I was just about to do that. And
Oh,
so
okay.
then I
Sorry.
was like, well, no. Well,
We
then
think alike.
and then I thought, oh my goodness, what if I don't know if this will work, but what if I come over here and I say
We
um
don't we don't see your screen anymore, by the
oh
way.
oh that's right. Okay, hold on just a moment. Let me find you all again. There you are. All right, share. All right. So what if, so here's the legal assistant, and what if I say, can you create a kind of like a fake legal document that I can run this through, run through my new legal app? And let's see. This is one of the fun parts with AI is that when you don't know or you don't have a thing, just ask AI and see if it can create the thing.
Mhm.
And so it says, sure, I'll create a sample technology services contract with a mix of good and problematic clauses so that you can see what the issues are. All right, I like the sound of that. Vasuda, I am not in your world. I have no idea what other direction to give it other than let's see what it comes up with and we'll go from there. Okay.
Sounds great.
Okay. I'll need to download as a PDF. We'll just give that additional sort of information to see what it does. So,
It's
um,
puttering.
yes, as you can see now, it goes from verb to verb, and now it's puttering.
Yes.
And so it's here's my direction, and it says, okay, let me also create a PDF version. So that then we can try this thing and try and upload and see what it does. So thanks everyone hanging out here. Let's see if it can do the thing. All right, intentional issues. Let's see.
So it's building
Um,
one that will kind of call things out. It knows you want to test it. So it's trying to build something that will actually get flagged by the app.
right, and where did my PDF go? Import. Both files are created. Oh, the PDF is it's in my contract. Okay. All right. So let's see if we can do that. So I need to go to McLean, contract reviewer, sample contract. All right. Let's give it a go.
And Nicole,
Uh, yes.
please use the sample, but also I just found a contract from CSJ. I don't know if that's helpful at all, if it needs to be an Illinois contract. Um,
Did you put it
Oh,
into
he did.
Looks like
Yep.
Zoom chat.
okay. All right. Let's be a little crazy here. Let's go ahead and do it. Pulling down. We're gonna save.
And Albert's into privacy, so we can be sure he's probably already
This
He's
is
all,
all
This is
this is
okay.
all
What
from
are
a
you guys
publicly
doing?
accessible Giles contract space. You can access it on any public computer.
Yep.
oh my gosh, fabulous. All right.
Here we go.
Let's see. Here we go. All right, so downloads.
Whoa, that was fast.
Okay, so let's see what it extracted. First of all, it says it's between the city of San Jose and Ladris Technology. I didn't even look at the file. Is this correct?
Yeah, that's the file.
Okay, so it basically is saying this is the text that I extracted. That's nice. I wasn't expecting that little, nugget. It says contract review report. Okay, so let's see. It gives it a risk score of 85. Now, before we dig too much into it, the reason why subject matter experts are so imperative to go through this workflow and this process is to say, maybe that's not the case, or, oh, that is absolutely, we need to double down or double click on that. And so the direction of what you see here, you would then go through and continuously tweak and modify to get the app the way you want. Okay, but let's see what it's given us here. It says that the analysis says that there's some rule-based analysis. It's telling me that my Olama, which was the LLM, is not available, so that would be something to troubleshoot. So some component ratings. The compliance says it's high. FOIA compliance is critical. Data ownership might be critical. So for instance, some vendor data ownership says that it's critical. It says the vendor claims ownership of data created by or for the county. The government data must remain government property. Okay, hold on. So let's just fact check this. Does it say that in the actual contract? Can anybody fact check this for me very quickly?
Not it.
I am downloading this right now, and I will.
Okay, maybe. So I can already see kind of a little bit of a UI UX thing that I would want in this is I would want to create like a button or a hover over that says, show me what part of the contract says that,
Mhm.
right? So as we're thinking through this, that would be one of the things that I would want to ask. So while someone's looking for that fact check, it says here the non-compete, or the exclusivity, it says the exclusivity clauses restricting the county from using competing products or services. Okay, so if that was a problem, you might want to raise it. What I also see here is I would probably go back and ask Claude Code, where is it getting like the critical, medium, and high, and just make sure that that is comporting to like the Illinois law or the things that are specific to what you all need. Looks like we
And
just posted
yeah,
something.
and often when you're building these kinds of things, you already have something. So you're the knowledge expert. So you probably already have a checklist, right? Like of all the things that you know that you're going to want to check against. So when you're actually doing your vibe coding, you can upload that document and say, this is our checklist, and I want you to look for all these things, that the app would look for all these things, and then it would have even more context. So the more context that you can give when you're doing the vibe coding, and that's where the knowledge expert piece comes in. The more you know about the topic, the more you can help it get the first shot right.
Yeah. And
So-
so it looks, go ahead, Vensuda, was that you?
Vendor data ownership is inaccurate in section 3. Clearly says city shall retain exclusive ownership rights over its proprietary business data, information, and strategy, and shall own all data or other information entered by city in conjunction with the use of software.
Yes. So what or is a little bit further down. It says company shall have the right to use any data generated in connection with or relating to the operation of the software. And so where we might want to sort of fine tune this a little bit is to give Claude back some direction on where that vendor data ownership would trip to critical versus not, right? And so that's where we would just go back and we would continue to tweak a little bit to make sure that it's saying the right thing. And it goes through and it looks like it has sort of color coded where things are addressed and we're okay, or maybe where things was not found. There was nothing regarding Local Records Act potentially in this contract that might want to be addressed.
Mhm.
So anyway, oh my gosh, we pulled off a live vibe coding. That's pretty cool, number one. But number two, hopefully what this has showed you is how easy it is to get started. We have had lots of requests for, okay, now can you show me how? We are taking those. Reach out to me if you haven't, if you're interested. But the idea is that you, as subject matter experts with the right tools, can start to prototype and either hand off to the experts, engineering experts, to put into production, and or hand off to your vendor of choice to just get through that prototyping a little bit more quickly.
Mhm.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We'll be
Thanks
in
for
touch.
joining. Good job, Nicole.
Thank you. Thank you, Melanie.
Great job, Nicole. Great job, Melanie. Thank you.
All right.
Yep.
Bye,
We'll see
everyone.
y'all.
Thank you.
Oh, and question on reporting. We'll be uploading the recording to YouTube.
Awesome. Yep. We'll see y'all.
See ya.